Owen Curtis writes, I have noticed that until the release of The Wolf of Wall Street, the last major theatrical release over 3 hours was The Return of the King. That's a 10-year gap, which is clear to me that studios are pressuring filmmakers to shorten their runtime more than ever before. Just look at the production problems of the film Margaret. While there are some movies that don't deserve to be anywhere near their runtime, cough, Transformers, cough, I feel like this pressure can be detrimental to films that would earn its runtime and wouldn't need to be a TV miniseries. Do you share my sentiments, or do you feel that more streamlined films will be better for moviegoers and the industry itself?
One of the things that I love so much about movies, and this often comes up in talking with comparison these days, that people want to compare television shows to movies. They really are two completely different things, because as we often say, in television, you know, how many times do you hear in a TV series, yeah, the first season was kind of weak, or the first 6 episodes, or like one of my all-time favorite shows, Spartacus, the first 3 episodes, some of the worst television in film history, turns into one of my all-time favorite shows. You have hours and hours and hours and years sometimes of time to develop and tell your story however you want to tell it, right? Movie making is a completely different art, because in movie making, you have roughly 2 hours to introduce your characters, introduce the world that they're in and the context in which they're in, bring us up to date on what the story and the plot is going to be, have all of it start to flesh out, bring all those things to resolution and have your ending, and you get 2 hours to do that all. Totally different level of skill, different level of storytelling you got to do to tell a compelling, deep, rich, character-driven story. 2 hours, not 25 episodes, not however many years you have. Now, that's not to say one is better than the other, just highlighting these are two totally different mediums. A number of years ago, on the recommendation of Quentin Tarantino, actually, there's this film workshop in Hollywood that guys like Tarantino have been to, a lot of Hollywood filmmakers have been to, by a guy by the name of Dove S.S. Simmons. He runs this like 3-day filmmakers workshop. And I remember him saying, now, I'm just telling you what he said. I'm not saying it's necessarily right or wrong. But one of the things he said in the workshop was that if you can't tell your story in 2 hours, then the problem is with you as a storyteller. And I thought that was really interesting to say. Now, he went on to specify that, look, that doesn't mean that some movies won't then say justify an extra 20 minutes or just make it 90 minutes in cases of comedy and stuff like that. But a movie does not need to be 3 hours. Even Wolf of Wall Street, which I watched and I loved, if you saw my review of it, I loved Wolf of Wall Street. But the one criticism I had coming out of it was a little bit like, it could have been tightened up a bit. There were moments and scenes and things like that I felt it could have lost. To tighten it up a bit, increase the pace a bit, maybe it would have been a bit better. I don't know. That's not to say that there's no films in history that don't deserve 3 hours, but I'll be honest with you. I think that target of 2 hours is a great target. Go over by 20 minutes, go over by 30 sometimes, go under by 20, 30. That's fine, but I think that target is a good one to do. It means that theaters can play more screenings of the movies that are out there. It forces the filmmakers to be more concise and more compact and more tight in their storytelling, and I think that's good for audiences. So while this isn't just a across-the-board rule, I think generally speaking, yeah, you don't go for 3 hours. That's just my personal opinion. Love to know what you think, but more importantly, I want to know what you think as a filmmaker. What do you think?
You know, I agree. I think like what you said was great. I mean, because making a movie and making a TV series is completely different. I look at TV series as every TV series is a soap opera. In that it's basically you get a chance to, like, you're getting into the characters' lives. You get to see them making breakfast. Everything is like, it's a lot slower paced. Even in a fast paced film, you're seeing aspects of their lives that are usually cut out of films. Just like when, you know, they say, like, you don't have to see the person get out of the car and walk to the door and ring the doorbell. You can usually just cut to them entering the apartment.
Right.
You don't even have to have them entering the apartment. You can have them seated already in mid-conversation. There's all these different things where you cut out, you know, time-wasting stuff in a certain sense, but in a TV show, it's not time-wasting because you're building character. They could be on a call while they're walking to ring the doorbell. I'm just saying it's like you have a lot more pacing issues that aren't in television that you have in films. And that's just not, when you're writing a screenplay, you're not even thinking about that. You're like, you're act 1, act 2, act 3.
Right.
It's a whole other structure of how you write and how you conceptualize a film versus how you conceptualize making, writing, or directing a TV series. So you're like, usually within a TV series, you're part of a whole. Like as me as a director, I've worked with other directors who are doing other episodes. So we're like, hey, let's make sure like part of what our overall thing meshes, and then we can each have our own distinctive style for these specific scenes. So as a producer, that's what you kind of look at on a TV level. On a movie level, you're like, hey, as long as the story works, you don't want to go over 2 hours, because I think the attention span of the audience starts to drift. If you have an incredible film, if you have like one of the blockbuster Oscar-winning films, it can be 2.5 hours because it's that strong. It's that amazingly well made. Most films are not that amazingly well made. They're just good.
Right.
That's just the reality of it. So if you have a good film, the audience will be with you. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. They'll be with you and be like, "Hey, that was good." You know, it's satisfying. If it gets too long and too, stretched out, like what you're saying is like, you reach that area where people are like, "I'm going to go to the bathroom." There's like just that break that people need. Yeah. That people watching television shows get it. They can just pause it. They can go to the bathroom, get a sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Like pause it. Like, "Hey, what? I want to take a break for a minute." That happens all the time.
Get their hair darkened.
Yeah, get their hair darkened or lightened. I mean, these things happen. So yeah, I think 2 hours is a great place to be for a movie. But I've enjoyed a lot of movies that are over 2 hours. I've enjoyed movies under 2 hours, but 4 hours. How many movies are 4 hours? Not many.
Not many.
Transformers 4. What a fantastic film.
Felt like
at
8.
2 hours and 800 minutes, or whatever that was. Yeah.